Everybody, for another edition of Diamond Star Stories featuring the 1934 to 1936 Diamond Star set that I'm currently working on, that I featured in previous videos, showing that I have about a third of it complete so far. All right, so let's just kind of jump on in. This is my final video of this series for December, and I hope you guys all have a great holiday season. We'll be back in January doing chapter 14 onward until we cover every single card that I obtained for the set. Hopefully I'll have it finished at some point and you'll be able to see every card from the set, but let's kind of jump into it. Let me share this card with you. So before you can see, it's the 1935 edition of this card. This was one that I actually personally got graded, which allows me to go into my SGC account and actually show you a better quality image for the purpose of this video. So this is one I got graded again over the summer. Dropped these off at the National. First acquired it in November of 2022 at the Chicago Sports Spectacular from a vintage dealer that I've often purchased cards from. This one had a discount bin of pre-war cards, and he had about 5 or 6 Diamond Star cards that were in there, and I bought every single one of them. I later submitted those for grading this past summer, got them back. They all ranged from about 1.5 to 3. So they were kind of lower quality, but kind of are consistent with the set that I'm completing. As you can see that George, this card is a little bit different than some of the other ones that I've shown you to date because he's looking directly at the photographer who took the photo that was used to be able to create these cards. And in this image in particular, you see the level of detail in his uniform much more clearly than you can in a lot of the other cards in the set. This card obviously has a yellow sky in the background, which should be kind of the skyline of St. Louis at this time, and the factories there with the smokestack, which has blue coming out of the smokestack in that particular photo. What I really like about this one is that he is sitting in front of the camera, so you can really see a little bit better detail again on the uniform, but also on his face itself. Many of the other cards you'll see in this set have like kind of like action images, or they're ones where they just finish their swing, finish their follow through on a pitch, or fielding a ball, or something like that, to kind of give you the appearance that there's a lot of action going on in there, even though it is ones that they kind of had to create for the set, and they weren't true action photography at that time. They were staged photos at that point that they later used to be able to create these cards. So George Blaeholder, this was created towards the end of his career. George Blaeholder was born in 1905 in Orange, California. He actually grew up on an orange orchard with his family. He was one of 8 siblings. After about 8 years of formal schooling, he left school and started working with his family on that farm, and started doing semi-pro ball with one of his other brothers at that point. During his time there, he actually kind of stood out a little bit and was able to then be noticed by the St. Louis Browns, and they actually signed him into their organization, where he played in the minor leagues for about 4 years before he later debuted in 1925 with the Browns. During his course of his career, he was a pitcher who struggled a bit being able to be pretty successful on the mound. Granted, it was during the era when offenses were really exploding, and I think he definitely was a pitcher that had a hard time not giving up the home run. He actually led the league twice in home runs allowed and once in hits, but he also led the league once in 1929 with shutouts with 4. So it was kind of sink or swim with his way when he was on the mound there. You weren't quite sure what you were going to get when George took the mound. It could be a win, it could be a loss. He only had one season where he was actually over 500. It was the very last season of his career when he was playing with the Cleveland Indians. During his time with Cleveland, or during his time with St. Louis towards the end of his career, there he was traded to the Philadelphia A's at that point by the Browns organization because of a dispute that he was having with his then manager of the St. Louis Browns, Roger Hornsby. Hornsby did have a reputation at that time, kind of rubbing some of his players the wrong way, and George was one of those players, and George later got shipped out. They played for Philadelphia just for the later part of that season, which was 35, and then was traded over into Cleveland and played for the Indians there in 36. That was the season he actually had a winning record, where he was coming out of the bullpen primarily. Then he was traded by Cleveland in the offseason to then the Double-A Milwaukee Brewers. And I can kind of show you a picture of his time with the Brewers here in just a second. Let me pull that up here and share this tab instead. So there is a good little black and white photograph of him with the Milwaukee Brewers. He was with the Brewers for 6 seasons before he later retired. I'll show you the back now of his card, because we didn't really discuss that just yet. So let me pull this one. And here we have the back of the card. And so you can tell it's a 35, not just because of the label, but say you didn't have the label, how could you tell if it was a 34 or a 35 or a 36? Again, I don't know if he has a 36 card, but he definitely would have a 34, because his card is in the lower series that were all produced in 34. So this one you can tell for a couple different reasons. First, it's got the green ink on the back, which would distinguish it between a 36 no matter what. But when you go further down there, beyond the text, the little write-up that's done about the player and like the skill that they're kind of talking about and featuring, they have a little bit of their personal information and their stat line. And in the bottom there, you have obviously it there. It says 1934 stat line on the back of the card, which in that season he won 14 games and lost 18. And so you can kind of feature, that's how you're able to distinguish one card season over another with these cards that were released across 3 seasons. So George didn't have a lot of cards. I want to show you just a few other ones that if you're interested in adding some cards of George into your collection. There's a couple on eBay I found right now if you're really kind of dying to get these. These are kind of high-end qualities, so I kind of say that facetiously. So here we have George with the St. Louis Browns in the 33 Gaudy set. This is obviously a near mint 8, so it's in really high quality. So it'd be a card that would be a little pricey for most people, including myself. And then one that was ridiculously expensive was this one, which is the Tattoo Orbit card, which also is ridiculously expensive, but a very popular set from that time. So there it is. That is George Blaeholder. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And again, I want to be able to kind of wish everybody a wonderful holiday season. I'll have videos this month, but this is my last one for the Diamond Star series for this year. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Feel free to comment below if you have any questions about it, or if you just want to kind of comment on the video. I will respond to each and every comment I receive. So you guys have a great rest of your weekend.